What was a loophole that you found and exploited the hell out of? Story 1. Back in the day, 2007 or 2008, I found a major flaw in the point of sale at Blockbuster. Their system would update overnight, but only certain parts and these parts were on different days of the week. Their new item prices would update on Thursday, and their used prices would update on Friday. But their trade-in values would update after closing on Sunday. This meant if a game dropped in MSRP, its new version would first lower on Thursday morning, $49.99 to $19.99, and be cheaper than the used version. The next day, on Friday morning, its used version would be lowered, $47.99 to $17.99. The trade-in value would still be the same, usually $30 to $35, even though you could pull the game off the rack, buy it for $20, and trade in back without leaving the line. I did this a few times and felt bad, so I emailed corporate to let them know about the loophole. They told me they didn't take in information or suggestions from outside parties, essentially because they had that set up as part of their business strategy. I then proceeded to assist them in their endeavors by buying 25 plus copies of Beowulf from Best Buy for $9.99, $19.99 to $10 coupon, and trading them in for $800 in store credit. Then I repurchased all 25 copies with a store credit for $500. Then I traded them in again, then I bought them again. I did this a few times over the weekend and ended up with $1,200 in store credit from $250 cash. Then I found a few games GameStop gave good money for and traded them in over there for store credit. I made some pre-orders and eventually canceled them and requested cash back for the deposit. I eventually got a letter from Blockbuster banning me from trading, but it had the wrong date, post-dated for the next year, and I kept trading. I don't feel bad about it. Story 2. This was more grinding than exploitation, but it was fun. The grocery store where I lived had a fuel card you could sign up for. If you bought certain items, you would get 1 cent or 2 cents off per gallon, sometimes more depending on the item or week. One week they ran a promotion that every one of their store generics would get 2 cents off per gallon, per item. I walked by the powder Kool-Aid packets and noticed they sell a generic version of that, 10 for $1. I do the math. My vehicle has a 16.5 gallon tank. Gas costs $3.14 per gallon. Each packet of drink mix costs 10 cents. Every packet of drink mix I buy will save me 33 cents at the pump. I will need 157 packets of drink mix to get free gas. This will save me $36.11. I should do this. So I count out 157 little individual packets of drink mix in all kinds of flavors and go to the checkout. I try to save the guy some time by telling him how many there are in each flavor. But the manager had walked by and stopped to see what was going on with the generic Kool-Aid. So the poor guy has to scan every single one. The manager makes an awkward joke about the amount of drink mix I'm buying. But when I pull out my fuel card, my ploy becomes clear. The cashier reads off my new fuel discount, and I'm on my way to the gas station when I proudly fuel up my vehicle. I still had to pay 16 cents. They wouldn't let you reduce the price all the way to $0. Then I took all the generic drink mix and donated it to the local food pantry, because I hate Kool-Aid. Story 3. Got a cell phone line that I have been using for free for over 5 years. Around 5 years ago, I used to work as a sales rep at a cell phone booth. For every new smartphone that would be released, the wireless provider would usually send us a demo unit of that phone with a demo line. The demo line would have unlimited talk, text, and data, but would deactivate after 2 to 3 months. This was so we could show customers how the phone works with all of its features. One time, we got a demo line that didn't expire after 2 to 3 months, so my manager at the time told me to use it as my work line. I didn't want to carry 2 cell phones, so I canceled my personal line and used my work line as my personal too. Fast forward 1 year later. The manager is transferred to another store and we get a new manager. The new manager has no idea about my work and personal line. I left the company 6 months later with my demo line, and to this day, I still use this demo line. I have not had a cell phone bill for over 5 years and counting. Bonus story. Around 2 years, my phone got stolen from my car, along with my laptop, hard drive, and tablet. I was utterly devastated, more for losing my phone line than anything else. After moping around for a few days, I started to think of ideas how I could possibly get the magical phone line back. I called and texted the phone line nonstop, offering money for just my SIM card back, but no response. I decided to try a different approach. I called my old store I used to work at, pretending to be a customer. I asked for my old manager, but I was told there was a new manager and I got his full name. I called my carrier, remembering the protocol from my working days, pretending to be the new store manager, and I gave them our authorization code, which I likely still remembered. I told them one of our demo lines was on the fritz and needed to transfer onto a new SIM. They asked for the phone number of the demo line. I give them the number and they say it's some special line that I have to contact some special department for. They transfer me to the special department. I tell the special department dude about the situation, and he's like he can definitely do the transfer but only through email requests. So I have to send him an email request for the transfer through our store email. Screwed. Another dead end. So maybe the magical phone line is gone forever. Looks like I have to pay for a phone line like the rest of you peasants. But then I had a magical flashback to 5 to 6 years ago when I used to work at the wireless store. My then manager asked me to create a store email for our team to use, for whatever use. I couldn't remember the password of that email, but I did remember I just made a regular Gmail account. So I made a new Gmail account for my old store and emailed the special department my phone line transfer request onto a new SIM card, under the guise of that store's new manager. The line was transferred within 2 hours and I got my magical phone line back. Story 4. By accident, I found a gumball machine. If you turned the dial really slow, it would drop the gumball. Then you could dial it back just enough so the next gumball would drop into the tumbler bits, and slowly dial forward again until it drops, etc. Got about 20 of them, and stopped when I realized that I really didn't want to chew that much cheap gum. Story 5. When I was younger, 12 to 13, I had one of those stupid timers in the computer that would only let me use the computer 2 hours a day before I got kicked. Found out that if you minimize the screen alerting you that you have run out of time, you never run out of time. Best summer ever. Story 6. So I wanted to get cheap coffee filters online as I knew I was going to need them for the foreseeable future and wanted to get a better price on them. So I found a site that had them at half price. $1.95 for 100 filters, usually $3.99 at the store. That I was paying at the store and put in my cart. When I went to check out, it asked me if I wanted to set up an automatic delivery to have them shipped every 2 weeks and they would reduce the price. I said, sure, why not? After all, they were the cheapest I had found. Getting them every week would mean I didn't have to keep ordering them. So it brought the price down by like $1 for 100 filters. I was thrilled. Then it asked me if I wanted to join the Coffee Savers program for more discounts. I said, sure. So after joining the Savers program, it brought the price down to $0. I was stunned. I still had to add my credit card, but I was never charged. So for 2 years, I got 100 filters delivered to my door for free. Never got charged, not once. One day I thought I got a notice that said they were going out of business and my free filters would end. I was sad. But the stockpile I amassed lasted me about 2 years, and recently in the past 2 weeks I had to buy new filters. Life will never be the same. This is your fault. This is entirely your fault. Story 7. Back when Hollywood Video was around, they would guarantee new releases to be in stock. If they rented out all of their copies in the store, then they would give you a voucher for a free rental. I was in college at the time and would go into the store near my college campus at around 10 p.m. on a Friday night. There was simply no way for them to have any copies left by that time, so I would collect whichever vouchers were available. Rinse, repeat, cheaper than Redbox. Story 8. Back in college, we found a loophole with coupons at Kroger for General Mills cereal. If you bought 4 boxes of cereal, each box was $1. But if you did the self-checkout, you would be printed out a coupon for $4 off your next purchase. We used the loophole to buy about 300 boxes of cereal. We only spent $12 on all of it. We would have spent less, but we had to go to another Kroger once the manager got wind of us. We kept around 20 boxes for ourselves and donated the rest to the local food bank. They were so excited when we showed up with 3 vehicles full of cereal. Totally worth the $12 and all that time it took. Story 9. When vending machines first started accepting credit cards, you could swipe your card, select a drink, and when the little drink pod starts moving to collect your drink, hit cancel. The cancel button would stop the card transaction, but not the machine, so you could get free drinks. It was a sad day when it stopped working. Story 10. Finally, I get to share this epic story. If Microsoft is reading, this is a fictional story. Don't sue me, scrubs. I discovered an exploit in the Windows Microsoft support site in which I essentially could create my own support tickets as if I was an MS employee. Basically, I found this obscure page in the support.microsoft site that is comically hard to find. I had a direct link saved back then. This page would display all of your open support tickets for personal viewing. So let's say you called Xbox support about your game acting up. You know those service request numbers they would give you? Each of those would display briefcase details and actions taken. What I found out was, apparently there was an old outdated feature that they planned to make public in which you could reply to the support request ticket, perhaps with more questions, etc. The functionality was there, but I doubt it was ever used. Anyways, I tried it once. I typed a reply and there it went. The closed support ticket went from closed to open, and when I called about the issue, they said they could see the response with my name attached. This is when I got really mischievous. I had the brilliant idea to change my name on my Microsoft account to first name Microsoft Escalation, last name Department. Now, every time I submitted a reply to a service request, to the agent who looked at the SR next when referenced, it would display a message from Microsoft Escalation Department. So then, I basically had free reign over everything since support representatives thought or rather the Escalation Department, had authority. So essentially, they would respect the request and the ticket. Naturally, being the greedy teenager boy that I was, I exploited this trick to get tons of Xbox Live Gold time, and then sell the codes for tons of profit. So here was the process. Call Xbox support and say some crap about how I had gold applied to my account, but it's not showing up. Say you have to go and that you want a support ticket so you can reference it when you call back later. Go on the support site, find the SR number, and type reply as Microsoft Escalation Department stating something along the lines of, "Customer purchased, in total 10 months of Xbox Live Gold membership. 10 months was the most profitable because I would get 3 3-month memberships and 1 1-month membership code." He reported that the gold was not applied to his account, and we have verified that the purchases were made due to a system bug at the time of the call with the customer. We were unable to produce the token request for the customer. Then I would add a section for customer service agent. Please provide the customer with 10 months of Xbox Live service via token. It was all written much better than that, and I had a professional pre-typed version ready to paste at the ready. Call the agent and give them the SR number, informing them they said something about providing me with a token for the membership. I don't know. They said they added notes on the SR number. I said that they weren't able to do it because of a system crash or whatever, and then the agent would dutifully perform the task. I mean, who wouldn't obey their superior? The final step. Take the codes, sell them on eBay for retail price or close to it. Make a new Xbox account and start all over. It was a good business until Microsoft made actual changes to their website because of me. In fact, as a temporary fix, Microsoft actually added an addendum to each new reply via the support page that said in big bold letters, "This support reply was created by the customer in the blah 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 portal." Hilariously, that wasn't nearly enough to stop me. All I did was add a short paragraph under that bold text with what looks like a customer request. Then I just hit enter a few times to go to a few lines down and just typed a new chapter, so to speak, in all caps. The following is the Microsoft Escalation Department's reply. Then I just did the same thing. Support agents were a little confused now, but the end result was the same. Finally, they changed it completely to where the page was vastly different, and even though you could still make replies, the customer service reps couldn't see anything you posted. So anyways, that's my story of how I exploited Microsoft's support system, became head of the Escalation Department, and got a ton of money in live membership, and served as an instrument in changing the infrastructure of Microsoft's online support. Story 11. There are these 3 Dunkin' Donuts in my area that let you buy coffee cards. Basically, you pay $200 for the card and can come through any part of the day, however much you want a day, and get any size coffee for a year. Well, my mom bought one last year and it had expired. She bought another one this year and it looks exactly the same as the old one. They took no effort into changing the card at all. So my mom gave me her old one and I get free coffee whenever I want. They're not scannable cards or gift cards. It's literally just a pink piece of paper in the shape of a card that has the Dunkin' Donuts label on it, the locations where it's valid, and the manager's signature. It does have the date it expires on there, really small, but they have never once checked my card. They only asked me to flash it at them. So I guess the day they asked to inspect it, the jig is up. Story 12. The online community that played Diablo 2 created its own form of currency by trading valuable in-game items for rare rings called SOJs, Stones of Jordan. For instance, if you wanted that rare plus attack power armor, you would buy it for 12 SOJs. Anyway, I figured out that there was a discrepancy between the worth of an SOJ in-game and its actual monetary worth on eBay. Same with magic items, but in reverse. I would buy SOJs on eBay for cheap, go into the game, and trade them for rare magic items. Then I would sell those magic items on eBay for way more than I paid for the SOJs. I made enough money to pay for college books and other living expenses. Blizzard tried to capitalize on this when they released Diablo 3, but they failed miserably by regulating the market too much. The system worked in D2 because it was only regulated by the supply and demand of the users. Story 13. I worked in a call center during college. Our main performance measure was the number of donations solicited per contact. If the person didn't answer or hung up immediately, it didn't count against you. I discovered a bug where if I blew into the microphone just as the phone started to ring, it would register in the computer system as a no answer and dial the next number. I rode this out for several months before I got tired of blowing my microphone for 8 hours a day and quit. Story 14. Last summer, I went up to northern Michigan with a buddy of mine. He's got a nice summer cabin in a small town called Escoda. It's a nice little place, with beautiful lake beaches and other fun outdoorsy stuff, if that's your thing. But there's not an awful lot to do up there otherwise. We walked from his cabin into the town and walked into a closing Kmart. I walked over to the electronics aisle hoping to find some bargains on video games. Unfortunately, they only had one crappy game, Putty Squad for PS4. They had an awful lot of copies. I checked the price. They were on clearance for $14, but were marked at an additional 90% off, bringing the price down to a measly $1.40 each. I did the sensible thing that anyone else would have done and bought 20 copies, even though I had no interest in ever playing any of them, nor did I own a PS4. Receipt for proof. After a weird look from the cashier, he removed the security labels from the games and sent me on my merry way with a bag full of sealed games I spent under $30. I brought them home with me and traded them into GameStop one by one every time I went, getting approximately $7 per copy in store credit. I traded in such a high volume of copies, I was banned from trading in games to GameStop. Fortunately, it's a system-issued temporary ban to prevent people from loading off stolen goods. I just traded in my last copy last weekend, but they were doing a 50% bonus trade and credit promotion. Got $10 in store credit. I made something like $150 in store credit, total off of $28 plus tax. And even though this pales in comparison to some of the other posts in this thread, I consider this a victory, and it makes for a funny story to tell. Story 15. When my friends and I were in 6th grade, we were always looking for a hustle. We would collect our parents' empty soda and beer cans to return to the Safeway near us for a few bucks to buy candy. One day, they installed these big machines that automated the process so the employees didn't have to manually count the cans. You'd put your can in the machine through a wide tube, it would roll the can around until it reached the barcode, drop the can into a locked storage bin inside, and you would repeat this until all of your cans were tallied. It would print a receipt that you would exchange for the cash amount of your cans at the register inside. My friends and I tied a can to the end of a stick, got the machine to read the barcode, then pulled the stick out before the mechanism would force our can on a stick into its belly. We did this once a week and got about $20 each time before we would get nervous and stop, so we wouldn't get caught. Story 16. I spent 5 years on a US Navy submarine. Every 2 years, we would do a 6-month-long deployment called Westpac. On my second deployment, I got boondoggled with a few other dudes. Basically, the boat goes out for deployment without us, and we get sent to attend various training schools in Pearl Harbor for the first half of the deployment, then catch a flight to meet the boat. So we watched the boat steam off and then caught a flight to Pearl Harbor. We show up with our orders to check in, but there was some miscommunication, and office personnel screwed up. We aren't enrolled in any of our classes. We don't have barracks, meal chits, or anything. They had no idea we were coming. They gave us something called a non-availability chit, which allowed us to stay at any reasonably priced hotel on the government dime. So naturally, we found a palatial estate a block away from Waikiki. We show up for muster the next day, and the PO more or less just told us, "Yeah, I don't want to see you guys again, ever." We couldn't get a hold of our boat because it was underwater doing secret things. Shh. Once the yeomen got their stuff on straight, they realized that our return plane tickets were already paid for and paperwork up, so they just said, "Screw it, we'll do it live." We were getting a per diem and having our house covered by the Navy. Never had to muster for work. Never had to check in anywhere. On top of that, we were still collecting our normal pay and allowances, CPay, BAH, etc. for 3 months. I grew a beard, got high as a kite as often as possible, learned to scuba dive, did some surfing, hooked up with a bunch of international tourists, went on pub crawls every weekend, did some hiking, and did lots of snorkeling. Woke up on the beach a few times with no recollection of how I got there. Best vacation ever. Thanks, Navy. Story 17. I worked at a sandwich shop when I was a young lass. We were allowed one free sandwich for the entirety of our employment there. Being an endless pit of hunger 16-year-olds are, I was determined to get as many free sandwiches as possible. If someone called in a phone order and never picked up, the sandwich was fair game for employees after an hour. So I would text my friends to call in the sandwich I wanted and then never pick it up. Every day I got free sandwiches. It was amazing. If I didn't eat it, I would bring it to school the next day and sell it. Story 18. Back in the day of flip phones, can't do this anymore, I had a razor, which I freaking loved, and learned that if I dipped the screen in water and then put it in the freezer, freezing the water, the screen would stop working. But everything else continued to work fine. The sticker behind the battery was never touched and didn't change color. I would do this whenever my phone got scratched and then call up saying my screen stopped working. I would send it and they sent me a new one for free. Did it about 5 times. I discovered this because I left it out in the snow by accident once. It was awesome. Story 19. Wasn't a trivia bowl type competition in college. As soon as the announcer began asking the question, you could buzz in and answer. If you got the question wrong, you lost no points and the question was skipped. My team answered the first question correctly and proceeded to match the buzzer for the rest of the round, effectively blocking out all the other questions. We won the round with a final score of 1 point. They changed the rules before the next round. Story 20. A couple of years ago at work, I was browsing Dick Smith's website and noticed they had a sale that reduced the price of all items below $50 by $10. I thought to myself, I wonder if I can try to purchase something for less than $10 and get it for free. Lo and behold, it works. So me and 2 coworkers ended up ordering about 15 miscellaneous items between us. 3.5mm extension cables, torch, phone chargers, stuff like that, before Dick Smith seemingly cottoned on. Not a huge exploit by any means, but we had a good chuckle to ourselves when a few days later, there were 15 small individual packages waiting for us at the reception area in our office.